over, when today we got to play Roll Meow.
The Cat Burglars.
So this is a print and play?
Yes, it's a print and play roll and write coming to Kickstarter February 21st.
Woohoo! That's really soon.
Yes.
So, so we got to preview this. Yay! So I was able to get these printed in color. Do not recommend for black and white printing.
Yeah, that's actually the biggest downfall I saw on this is that the way the numbers are laid out on here, you can't even read them if you printed it in black and white. So it is going to be something you'll definitely want to print in color. Hopefully he'll come up with a solution where he can format it in such a way that it does print nicely in black and white.
Maybe having a black and white version or something like that. So that is the call out. But before we get further into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, it's paper.
Yeah, there's quality components that we can't speak to. Again, this is another one where you're supplying your own components, so it's as nice as you can make it with whatever paper you choose. And as far as the PDF, though, how hard was it to print?
No, it was actually pretty easy. I didn't know how many to print, so I just printed 4 of everything, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that difficult. But we did mention again, don't do black and white. You need to do color
because I tried printing it in black and white at first, and I was like, the rule book was okay in black and white, although there were still some parts that were hard to read because of that. But doing the maps and the cats, the map in particular, the maps were bad if you did it in black and white because you could not read the numbers.
Yeah, and I think you're going to miss some of the artwork too as well. So just a little caveat for that. Other than that, printing it was fairly easy. They were very clear. So there wasn't a really big worry there. All right, so now let's focus on the theme. So you're a cat burglar, like an actual cat that burgles.
Yeah, it's actually a fun theme. I mean, you're doing a dungeon delve basically as these cats that are trying to go through. And
but you're not trying to kill monsters. You're trying to steal stuff quietly.
Yeah, you're trying to be stealthy and sneak by all these different monsters, which the first map has ghosts, which really look like kind of vampire bats, but they will attract a dog if you're not careful. But there's other creatures on some of the other maps that you make it different. So I know there's golems and there's some kind of almost like a squid or octopus type thing. And so there's, different creatures on different maps.
So I thought thematically, I think it was pretty good. You have different characters that you end up playing. I wish the characters maybe had a little backstory. I think that would have been good for theme. But overall, the artwork's actually pretty cute. And the maps are very detailed. So that looks actually really interesting. So I think that was actually a pretty good job on theme. I'm probably going to give this a 6.5 on theme. I thought the cat burglar thing was kind of fun.
I was going to go 7. I think the art is really pretty good for especially the cats. I like the cat details. And to make it as intricate of a map on a one page, I think it does a nice job and it's laid out pretty intelligently on the map. I think it's definitely not difficult to find things on the map. Yeah.
So, all right. So then let's now flip over to the rule book.
Right. So now this is still in development. So this is not the final copy. It needs some work. The rule book is 26 pages, I believe, it has a kind of a table of contents. There's a cheat sheet for the iconography, but it's in the middle of that rule book. So it's not the best place for it to be, but then again, you're printing it yourself, so you can put it where you want, But ideally, I mean, it's page numbered in the middle, so you'd want to have it at the end. But more importantly, there's some translation issues, I believe, for the English. It's just not, the wording is not grammatically correct in some cases. And the most complicated parts of the thing are not explained super well. There's some things we had to just kind of infer. I think the rulebook needs some tweaking, a little more definition on some of the things, but it's not horrible. It's still, I think it's, like I said, still morphing. So I think, he's already told me he's making changes along the way. So I think, with feedback, he's going to make improvements to it. So.
Absolutely.
So I at the current state, I'll probably give it a 4. It's not as good as a normal average rulebook, I don't think.
But it's pre-published.
Pre-published. It's not finished.
So discount that.
Yes.
All right. So now let's actually talk about the gameplay. So this is more of a solo game. So this is one of the first solo games me and you have actually reviewed. Rob's done a couple.
Yeah, it's designed for, there's maps designed specifically for solo play. There's maps designed for 2 players. You can play it more than 2 players, but it's really everybody's playing solo with a timer. So it's not really designed for more than 2 players, but you could do it and it would work. I mean, if we had done that, you would have won because you got out faster than I did. And I'm pretty sure I would have timed out. So I'm pretty sure you would have won that. But
you only were 10 points ahead of me.
Yeah, even with that, because I kind of raced out because otherwise I was going to have to follow the guards along their path to get to the exit and collect all the gold.
All right, so now let's actually talk about the gameplay. So basically you have your sheet of paper and you pick out your character, right? There's 4 characters.
Yeah, or currently there's going to be more in the campaign.
So we got to play with 4. All right, so basically you have, in this particular map, you have 2 guards that start at their starting location. You have your guy, and there are 2 entrances on map 1. So I'm going to choose which one I'm going to do.
Now, the campaign, there's going to be cutouts, and then you can also, if you have a 3D printer, print a standee for them. So there's going to be figures, but if you don't, we used little meeples and whatever Stonemaier tools we had at our disposal.
Yeah, these were kind of cool.
Yeah, the cart shields. Yeah, I like those.
Yeah,
they were a little bigger than they needed to be, but they worked okay.
Still, it was fine. It was thematic enough. All right, so you've got those. You're going to make sure you have some type of token for the dog in case he does show up. And then you're going to start the alarm at the most level.
The lowest most level.
Yeah, the lowest most. And then you're going to have your
lock picks.
Lock picks. And then you're going to have 4 dice. All right, so I'm going to start my game. I'm going to roll my 4 dice. Nope, and that's 0.
Yeah, that's the timer. That you have a cloaking spell that is protecting you, but it's really the timer of the game.
Okay, so I've got a couple of things going on. So I get to choose some actions that are available to me. So first, I can attempt to set up my lockpick for any locks or the treasures that I want to go after throughout this game. And we did that at the beginning, but I forgot. You're going to roll 3 dice, 1, 4, and 6, and you're going to circle 1, 4, and 6.
Yeah, there's 6 different treasures that you have to collect, but you only have to do 3 of them. So you roll the dice. If you pick 3 numbers that you roll, if you get duplicates, you get to choose for the ones that you got duplicates for. And then you also have a vault that you have to break into. That is, everybody's got to collect that.
All right, so I've got the ones that I'm supposed to do, and I kind of keep in mind that. So when I choose my starting location about where I want to go, so then I obviously would like to move in. So depending on the die and depending on the character, it gives me a certain amount of movement and whether I create an alarm or not. So for example, if I choose 2, I'm going to have 4 movement, but I'm going to raise the alarm. So it's kind of early. So I don't necessarily want to do that. Same thing with 4. It gives me 4 movement, but also sets up the alarm. That's another 4. So then I have a 6. So my 6 gives me 3 movement. That looks good enough for me. Okay. And then I can actually use to start setting up my lockpick. Now, I know that I need to get a hold of the money bag. So I'm going to go over here. And the money bag has a certain setup for the lock picking.
So yeah, it's a 3x3 grid, but you actually can play on a 4x4 grid. So that 3x3 grid can be arranged in basically any of the 4 corners. So you can use that to your advantage as you manipulate, because there's several different configurations you have, and the lock picks will stay. So if you move to do a different lock, you can potentially piggyback off of ones you already had from a previous one.
Correct. All right, so I'm going to place a 4 here and put my lockpick on it. So eventually that looks like a good thing. It looks like if I go on this space, if I spend a green, I get a coin. So I'm going to want a green. Now, up here in the green, I'm actually not allowed to spend 4s on the green space. So that tells me I have to spend my 2. And then I go up here so I can have that green to collect that money. And then to go further, to actually travel through a corridor, I will need a blue if I don't want to create an increase in alarm. Okay, so this is what I've got going on now. All right, so then I'm actually going to take my actions now that all my dice are in place. Okay, so this one is set. So now I have this starting. All right, so these were a little big for kind of that purpose,
Yeah,
but
you probably want to
hey,
use something more like a little one of those little cylinders, like you get in a lot of the wooden cylinders you get in a lot of the games.
But these were cool looking, so it's fine.
Or cubes.
All right, so then I also get to move 3 movement. Now the thing about the movement is you can stop and go, right? So I have a total of 3. So, but I can like move 1, take the action. I can spend my green, which gets me a coin, which means I'm going to circle a coin up here. Okay, then I get to move again. 2, I needed a blue, so I didn't create noise. And then I can do the action here. I can choose to spend a gold to set up a trap. However, I didn't have anything that got me a gold, but if I did have a 3, 1, or 6, I could have placed a die and gotten that gold to be able to set that trap.
When you're saying gold, you picked up gold earlier, but this is actually the yellow icon that is your meow power. Yeah. So your cat has 3 different kind of regions on it that will trigger an ability. So one is to build up the blue, green, or red stat, which you can either use immediately this round, or you can store if you don't. And there's like 7 different storage spots that you can store it in, and then you mark it out as you use it. But then there's also a number that's specifically for each cat for the meow power, which you use to get the yellow icon, which is used to trigger one-time use abilities on your board. Or there's a new stat you can add by there's icons which typically have yellow on them. Yours was all yellow. Mine had yellow, blue, and a die of 6. If you unlock that, you get a permanent ability. But there's also on the board different ones, the traps where you can set them, and it will basically be a stop point for the different guards and the dog. If you're getting chased by the ghost or the dog, they will stop and you can run away and save yourself.
All right. Okay, and then I get 1 more movement. I can choose to end up going through a locked space, but I can only go through the locked space if I match these icons and can actually unlock it. I can't do that, so can't go that way. If I go up north, I don't have a blue token to prevent noise, so I'm actually going to go in this painting room because it looks cool. All right. Now, so all my dice have been used. I'm going to then move the guard. So right now we're at alarm 2. So the guards move 2. Now this guard is at 12. So it's going to go to 13 and then it's going to go to 14.
And since they're ghosts, they can go through walls. They don't have to follow the paths.
So 2 goes to 3 and then 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then the timer goes up. And then you roll your dice again. Now, of course, you're trying to go throughout the map, get your treasures without running the doors. But I made a lot of noise. It's so sad. And I've called the dog. So the dog ends up starting at the 14 location. Okay.
In this map. I mean, it's different in the different maps, but this is where the dog spawns at.
And then he actually moves 6, and he follows the pathway. So he can go 1, then he heads towards 16, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, he's doing a patrol of the entire board.
6. Okay. Now, when he ends up going back to 14, then he will take off the board, and then this one will go back down to 5.
Right, which is actually really painful because if you make any noise at all, he's going to respawn. So you got to be very careful in that situation. The guards, if they encounter you, they immediately escalate the alarm to the dog. So you got to be careful. Now, there's ways to avoid getting caught. There's hiding. You can hide in the room. You can hide inside of a special secret passage if there's one in the room you're in. Or if you basically, looks like bribe the guard, but basically you can pay 3 of your stealth, your blue icon, to avoid getting caught as well when a guard lands on you.
And so to hide, you can pay the die that's attached to that room. Or if it has a secret passageway, you can pay that die to go into that room. And if you end up playing the Meow power, you now have a permanent location that you can go through the secret passageway. So if you're in one secret passageway and activate that, you can go to another one that you've already activated. Not one you haven't, but one that you already have. That way, escaping is very easy if you did it right outside the entrance.
Yeah.
So being able to come back. But it took me a couple to get that set up, but it worked out in my favor quite significantly.
Whereas I never used the secret passages at all in this game. I just I had a straight path to all three, my locations, but I had to follow the guards. They kept getting in my way, so I had to stand and wait for them to move so then I could go in. But I never raised the alarm the entire game until the final turn.
I only raised it one. And that was because I made a decision because I was like, I am tired of waiting. All right, so I will say this. I thought thematically, I've never actually seen a really good like thief, like role-playing kind of adventure like this. And I thought that it was kind of spot on because most of the time you're a warrior, you're attacking things, and so to see an actual like thieving kind of, this was cute. Yeah. This was great.
There's also when you get to the vault, there's a mini game you have to play in essence where you set the timer for a minute and you got to have a stopwatch. But basically you have to manipulate dice to get certain combinations of numbers on the dice you've got 3 dice, but you can do it on 2 or 3, but you have to get a total to reach different numbers on the row or the column. And you have to move the dice around by basically turning the dice, which is very similar to a video game. I used to play Devil Dice, that you walked on the dice and they changed sides. You had to kind of triangulate where the sides were going to be when you turned them so you could get it in the right spot. But you only have a minute to get all 4 of them. But you can, if you do unlock any of those combinations, they'll be unlocked for the next round, making it easier for you the next round. It took me 2 tries. You got it in 1.
I didn't need help.
Yeah. So, I thought that was a neat little mini game that they had to get safe cracking in addition to the lock picking mechanism, which I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I thought they had a lot of good mechanisms in this game. And like I said, I thought it was very unique to actually have a pretty decent thief-oriented, kind of role-playing game. And I thought that was great. Overall, I'm very interested to see what the final product would look like. I'm a little bummed that it's only print and play, and the fact that you don't get.
I from a cost perspective, I can, and then especially with shipping and everything the way it is right now, I can understand why a lot of people are doing the print and play for roll and writes in particular, because most people have dice and everything. But this one, there's a lot of bits and pieces you need to go along with it, which is more than you typically need in a roll and write that you buy off the shelf. So I would think if any of those type of games needed a printed version, it's this one.
Yeah, and I would even hope that he ends up getting maybe some STL files that you could print that maybe, can match some of, what's needed maybe even if you're going to do that. I don't know. But I think you're right. If there's something, I feel like if something would be in a physical form, this one might end up being there. And I thought it was I thought it was cute. I thought it was a lot of fun.
We don't typically play solo games, and this one definitely, the at least what's crafted so far, we had multiple maps for solo play, only one for 2-player. So it's definitely designed right now primarily as a 1-player, but with the 2-player design available. And then he's going to be adding more maps through the campaign. I know I've seen a few of the planned stretch goals, and there are additional cats, additional maps. So he's already got that. And there's also going to be a mini campaign. There's actually 3 different mini campaigns, I believe, that he's going to have in the game.
Oh, that will give it a lot more thematic feel to it. I think it would be actually a lot of fun to, like, you're trying to save somebody and you need these things to save it or whatever. That would be way cool. I think that would make it even better to have a story portion of why you're going in to steal this stuff.
There's definitely a lot of thought and creativity put into this in its current state. It's definitely more than you typically see in a roll and ride. I would say this is definitely on the medium side of a roll and ride. It's not as complex as Hadrian's Wall as we can play, as we
Or that last one we just played recently.
Yeah, the Motor City.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, but there's a lot of thought in the design of this, and it is clever as far as the, like I said, the lock picking mechanism I thought was really cool, and the safe cracking mechanism was unique. I've not seen any roll and writes take advantage of stuff like that with manipulating the dice, so I thought that was fun. All in all, I enjoyed it, but I don't, it's not my cup of tea as far as solo play because we don't play solo typically. But if you are a solo player, you might want to check this out. If you're into the RPG type games, this is also in that realm. You might want to check it out. If you like cats, obviously. So there's a lot of pluses for this game. Definitely the campaign will put there's a basically an advanced look at the game, the campaign that you can get right now. I'll put the link to that, and then once the Kickstarter goes live, we can add on the link to the Kickstarter into the comments below.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is definitely one that you want to look at, especially if you're really into solo play, or if you like thieving, or you like cats. Yeah. So, well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast tonight. Hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.